There's the protesters. Roll call 219 here. Please enjoy the tune. It's pretty adequate for these people. You have this lady here from Every Town That Matters. That's what her red sign says. Then you have 146 mass shootings this year. But I guess they're not equating what happens in Chicago and LA and all those other places. Plus there's somebody stabbed here in Indianapolis the other day. So I guess they don't care about knives. They just care about the guns. The one says assault weapons off our streets. I don't know. Is she going to go to the Crips and Bloods? Is she going to go to Crips and Bloods and tell them to turn in their assault weapons? They're bringing in water because you see there's a lot of old people there. So, you know, you got to stay hydrated. These people are kind of fucking, I guess they're just waving. Those are the cocky ones. So if you go across that street, you're going to be getting screamed at by these people waving. So there you go there. They're bringing in totes. Probably totes with automatic ban guns slogans in them. Automatic ban guns. You know, these people. This is a small set. There's another small set yesterday that I took a picture of that I'll roll in here as well. So you gotta understand when you come to these things and you want to be, you know, part of the conversation. This is just what you have to endure here. These people that don't understand the right to keep and bear arms, because they'd rather be victims. Now, if some homeless man came over here and started shredding them, what would they do? You know, they'd probably ask one of us because we're all carrying a gun. They're probably not. So there you go. The video you're watching is when me, Sean, the researcher, and Cindy went down to NRAAM, which is the National Rifle Association annual meetings. Plus, it's like a trade show. It's not a gun show. It's a trade show where the latest and newest technologies are being shown to the public. Unlike SHOT Show, where you can't go in there unless you are media or some kind of special personality on YouTube. But that's what NRAAM is. That's what we call it. Some people, again, call it the NRA show. Protesters. I was on, I think it was the Daily Gun Show from gun websites. And I think it was either a day or two before the show, or it could have been the day before we traveled down there. And I thought the pressures of the anti-gun crowd were going to be a little bit more stern, because we were coming off of tragedies like Nashville, like a couple of other instances. I don't want to get too in-depth in detail because YouTube frowns upon talking about societal issues that we've witnessed throughout the course of lifetime. So again, I think a lot of you know where I'm coming from. So I thought it was going to be a little bit more intense. I said it on his show, and I had that in my thought process. But again, and this is such a big tragedy in these people's minds. Why didn't they stay there for the whole entire show? They didn't stay there throughout the rain. They barely stayed there for the sunshine, and they only stayed there for a couple intervals of hours, to where they got just ran down, I guess, from sitting there screaming obscenities. And then there was just small pockets of these people. It was really a little bit of disorganization there from their standpoint. Nothing like we saw in Texas when the NRA had their annual meetings down there. It wasn't anything compared to that. So that's a good thing. Indiana's a pretty open-minded state about gun laws and people's Second Amendment rights to a point, which is good for the citizens of the state, you know, of the union that come here to live. That's a pretty good aspect of living here. So I want to put that out there. And they're trying to change the hearts and minds of people. Screaming obscenities at people and making egregious signs isn't going to change anybody's opinion. Not only that, there's some people that were having statistical numbers on their signs which were inaccurate because I Googled them. And I don't know where they got their numbers from, but a lot of the portion of the anti-gun crowd, whether it be Moms Demand Action, the Giffords Foundation, so on and so forth, they lie. They're just plain out lies, because their whole agenda is to stop from people getting firearms and to take firearms away. Let's face it, that they've already said the quiet part out loud. Beto O'Rourke was like that, and so was some other people that run those political boundaries that are getting, into the realm of these political organizations like Moms Demand Action and pushing and thrusting this onto the population. Even saw a sign that said it was harder to adopt a kitten than it was to buy a firearm. I would highly disagree with that. At one point in the time before I left to go to that show, the board was half filled with people that were being basically a right delayed is a right denied, in my opinion. And a bunch of people were delayed. And a lot of them ran their course of 30 days, because that's how long you have for a background check on a 4473. So those people ran a lot of their courses when I returned back from that trip. I've adopted 2 dogs. We all remember El Chapo and Bandit. And that process was pretty smooth, pretty thorough. And there wasn't any kind of hiccups, especially with El Chapo. They were kind of like, well, we're got to go over your background. And then I told them a bit about what I do. And they were like, oh. And I looked at my dog and I said, I'll pick you up tomorrow. I gave them the thumbs up, went there and picked him up the next day. So it wasn't any kind of hassle. They just had to put in the proper paperwork. That's like that for 4473s around the country. But again, the anti-gunners don't understand that. I don't believe a lot of those people were gun owners. And some of these people that were telling us that we're buying weapons of war there, you cannot buy guns there. I don't know where they're getting these concepts from, not only from their signs, but from the premise of what this show is. And again, screaming at people and saying nonsense and writing nonsense on signs isn't going to change my opinion when I can readily Google what your sign says, and Google is even telling me, even Google is, let's face it, it's not the greatest, because people that run that are anti-gun, but even they're disagreeing with what these people are putting on their political signs. Every town that something matters was there, and you can see some of these people's attitudes. They have no problem at screaming at you, but when you start putting them on film, there's a reason why there's pictures, because they don't want to be on camera. They don't want to talk about it. All this time, all this course that we have been going through, this drive about taking away firearms or limiting access or banning them all out, they always said, well, what's your discussion? When we tell them the discussion, they don't want to hear that discussion. That's just to say, well, we heard your argument. We don't like your argument. Well, you're never going to like somebody as pro-gun as me and other people that are in my circle of, whether it be friends or here on YouTube for my YouTube channel. You're never going to agree with us. There's a reason why I don't banter back and forth so much with anti-gun people. And the only time I do is when they are factually wrong. I've done that a lot on different platforms, whether it be here on YouTube, whether it be on other things like TikTok or Instagram. There's a lot of things that we should be doing as pro-gun, pro-constitutional citizens, and that's debunking their stuff. And a lot of stuff on those signs, Cindy didn't want to get too interactive there. Because again, I'm a lively fellow. These were very lively people at some portions of, filming them. Even got the finger a couple of times. So I'm number 1 in their books. So it is what it is. So the whole premise of this is we have to be more conscious and more active in what we're doing and what we're seeing on the internet. And we have to be vocal and focus on the steps to take to correct these people that are putting out bogus information. I saw a lot of it last night watching a TikTok live where somebody was telling me during the Coco uh-oh periods, nobody was going to the range. And that's the problem. That's the problem, because people can't, train or do this or do that. And I tell them, well, the one aspect, you're damning the NRA, who has some of the biggest training methods in gun culture. You're trying to get rid of that organization. And then you're talking about a time where people were locked in their house. So of course, unless you have a spot of land out here, you're probably not going to the range as often as you would want to. Squibload has a good video on that of them closing, the places up by him. So those kinds of measures and those kinds of tactics of, citizens are uncontrollable out here. When I see more police officers discharging their firearms into their leg than I've ever seen is critical. We just had another one the other day that I watched a video on where, my finger wasn't on the trigger, and lo and behold, while he's getting out of his squad car, his finger's on the trigger. So imagine what happened. So a lot of this comes down to combating it on the internet. We are in the age of, unfortunately, massive technologies. We are, whether it's the sharing of information when we can, and then the good facts and the seeking out of facts to put that information out there to correct the people that want to either limit our rights or take them away altogether. I highly encourage this. I encourage this on my shows. I encourage this on other platforms. And I highly encourage you folks to do it, whether it be on any piece of social media that you use. If you're limiting yourself to one piece of social media, you're limiting your ability to get facts and the credible information that needs to be out there. You're limiting that, and to me, you're doing a disservice. You're doing a disservice to the Second Amendment. Some people will disagree with me on that issue, but that's my opinion. I believe we should be out here, because if you look at the campaigns that the left and the anti-gunners and all these other organizations are doing, they're massive. I saw that in Valparaiso, Indiana, when I went to the March to Give Away Your Rights. Military Arms Channel was there too. And that was a huge broadening, opening of watching my kids understand the trials and tribulations we go as gun owners. There's some people that don't own, 30 or 40 firearms. There's just not. But I think their preference should be focused on, look at the gun laws that are going around the country. Look at the assault weapons bans are starting to trigger into handguns, shotguns, 22 rifles. And these were the things. Remember, in the beginning that they were like, you can have these things. Remember, Joe Biden's in there, just buy a shotgun. Now they want to limit that stuff. When you give them an inch, they'll always take a mile. Anti-gunners are always like that. That's why I don't engage with them. Political conversations or conversations, that they probably wanted to have at that event. I'll never agree with them. I'll never find level ground with them. And I'll never, ever give in to what they have to say. And that's my preference. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. But that's how I feel about what I'm seeing in society today. I will never negotiate my rights. I will never say, hey, why don't we trade this for that? We are not doing that, in my opinion, ever again. We tried to see it with bump stocks for the state of Indiana. Guess what? Republicans turned their back on gun owners, and they did it anyway, and they banned it. Not only that, Holcomb passed some other, you can't have switches and all this other stuff. They're deemed machine guns. Well, we already knew that stuff. So passing laws just to pass laws. Oh, look, I did something. That's the kind of stuff that we have to stop in society. We have to stop this stuff of passing laws, just to make a portion of the populace feel better. That's got to stop too. So that's why you got to vet your candidates. But I digress on that subject. But that's what I saw. A lot of nonsense, a lot of yelling. Even one point, Cindy even shouted something. And that's rare. That's rare when if you're going to get under Cindy's skin and she shouts back at you, that means that, look, she's had enough of your talking, your bogus talking points, and some of the things that you have to say. When she starts yelping back at him, then you know that it struck a nerve, and I think one of the conversations is one of the people that were a protester was a teacher, and Cindy had some choice words for her, because let's face it, some of her family members work in the school, development as well. So, sometimes if you guys if the anti-gunners are gonna talk the way they're gonna talk, they're gonna get those kinds of responses, even from the people that aren't so outspoken as some of us. So that's what I saw there. Those are just my opinions. It's my thought process of what I saw. So again, it is what it is. Keep on fighting for your rights. Keep on making sure that your Congress critters and your, whether it be state, local, or federal, are doing their part to not try and trample your rights. And if they are, there's one method, and it's called to run someone to oppose them and put somebody in there that cares about the Constitution and your rights as a citizen. That's all I have to say about that. Hope you enjoyed the videos from NRAAM. There's not a whole lot left from that show. A couple of, I would call, shorts and a couple of quick 1-2 minute videos. That's about it from this year's trip to NRAAM in Indianapolis for 2023. I'd like to thank everybody that stuck around to watch those videos. It really helped out that past weekend. I greatly appreciate it. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Everything that I do, it surely helped out this weekend. We have a lot more people that have, watched the videos and became subscribers. That's why it's so important to do that stuff. So, again, I'd like to thank all my old and my new subscribers, just the people that zip through. I greatly appreciate it. Please, again, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Like always, we'll catch you on the next one.